Hello everybody. Well, we are going to talk about assessment this week. Again, I apologize for not being here. This is the second time I've tried this. The first time I did the entire lecture in Blackboard Collaborate, and for whatever reason Blackboard Collaborate didn't want to record my voice. So you can watch 45 minutes of me moving my mouse around. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to post 3 smaller, probably 10 to 11 minute YouTube videos to cover the material. So let me start here. I got the wrong thing up. Okay, we're going to start from the beginning. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is assessment. So remember, you're building this proposal. And in part of the proposal is the project plan, your faculty mentor contract, and the worksheet demonstrating how you are meeting the learning outcomes for the BAAS. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the first part is what is assessment and what are proficiencies and competencies. Then the second is how we assess those. And then the third is what does it look like for us. So we're going to have 3 videos. So this is our first video. So first of all, assessment, when people hear assessment, they kind of like, oh, they get a little anxious, right? Well, assessment in higher education is just a way that we are measuring student performance. You are assessed all the time, okay? When you're driving down the road and you're driving on the interstate and the speed limit's 70 and you got her punched in at 73 and you pass a cop, the cop is assessing your speed with the radar gun, okay? And then he's making a judgment call, right? He's figuring, well, is she breaking the law or is she okay? Okay, so then he's assessing your speed and deciding what to do. So when you were in grade school and had to do timetables in 2 minutes or less, you were being assessed. So we get assessed all the time. And basically in higher education, what we're concerned about is, are you learning what you're supposed to learn? In the BAAS, we have very high expectations to you, but we have to make sure that we are doing our job as well. So as a student, we got to make sure you're getting what you need, and as an institution that we are doing what we should do. So basically it's just measuring, did you achieve the level of competency that we expected for you? So this is important for you, okay? It's important for us and it's important for the institution. It's important for you because you kind of get a roadmap. When you guys took LEC 310, this all should not be new to you. You should have learned about proficiencies and competencies. And then you should say, oh, okay, I get what this degree is going to do for me. I understand. And it specifies what you are going to do. And it should also specify how you should be performing that and at what level. For instructors, it's important for us because we get feedback. We can say, oh, okay, I understand that the students aren't getting this part of my course because everyone failed this section. So I need to fix that. Or as an instructor, if I write a test and 80% of the students fail, A, it wasn't a good test. B, I didn't cover the material correctly. I highly doubt 80% of the people just didn't study. And then for an institution, it's important for us, the institution, to ensure that we have high quality programs with integrity, not only for our students, for the citizens of Wisconsin, but for our accreditation. So that is why it's important. So how does this all work? How does assessment work? Well, what we do is there is a specific set of skills and competencies and knowledge that every student is expected to have upon completion of, you name it, a course, a lesson, a degree. So at any level you can be assessed. You can be assessed on a unit, you can be assessed on one little part of a lecture, you can be assessed on your whole degree, okay? And these desired learning outcomes, sometimes they're called learning outcomes. A lot of people call them learning outcomes. In the colleges, we interchange that with the word proficiencies. Okay, so learning outcomes and proficiencies are the same. And what we need to do is we need to determine the level at which your project is exhibiting these learning outcomes. So as you go through your courses, you're being assessed all the time on these learning outcomes. Well, now we have to really tie it in to the learning outcomes of the degree, because the degree is culminating, the culminating experience of the degree is the capstone class. So it makes sense that your capstone project should look and attain a lot of the learning outcomes that we profess to have in the degree, because this is your culminating experience. So learning outcomes. There's 3 things that you need to be aware for learning outcomes, okay? We're always trying to answer these questions. Who is performing the learning outcome? Well, that's pretty straightforward for you guys. You guys will, okay? Here's the second one. What actions? So a learning outcome is an action. What action are you going to take? And what is the result of that action? So to say, I'm going to think about something, well, is that, yeah, that's something you do, but what is the result? It could be a paper, but it's hard to assess how you're thinking, right? But if you say, I'm going to analyze something, or I'm going to evaluate something, that's something that we can get our teeth into and say, okay, what's the result of that analysis? Think about, well, that could be anything. So we want to see actions taken. And the thing about these actions is they must be observable. So the actions must be observable and they must be measurable. So you have to observe the action and measure the outcome. Measure it. And then you, of course, are going to perform that. So when we look at the BAAS, and hopefully this is not new to you, is that we have 3 core learning outcomes or proficiencies: global skills, cognitive skills, and integrative learning. So you're like, okay, what does that mean? Well, that's kind of an issue, right? Global skills could mean any sort. The sky's the limit, right? Cognitive skills, holy cow, that's tons of different things could fall under there. And the same with integrative learning. So what the institution, with several people, remember Craig was on the planning committee, I was on a different committee, there's all sorts of committees that worked through this, and they said, okay, our 3 broad areas, so I like to think of these as tents, right? Global skills is a tent, cognitive skills, integrative learning. We have to hold up our tent. Our tent is being held up by competencies. So those are the things that we're going to measure. These are the measurable things. So these subcategories are competencies. 3 competencies in global skills. Demonstration of a broad knowledge of global issues, process, trends, and systems. Think of all of the ways you could do that. So remember, as you're building your graduation e-portfolio, we looked at this already, you should have some artifacts under there. It could be a paper you wrote in your global skills class, global studies class. It could be part of your service learning project. It could be a paper you wrote for another class. But you just need to demonstrate a broad knowledge of global issues, process, trends, and systems. You should be able to, upon completion of this degree, communicate effectively across contemporary cultural boundaries. I know Jeff is going to talk to us later in the semester about cultural geography. So that's going to be really interesting, and hopefully that's going to help trigger those artifacts. Oh yeah, I can do that, I can do that. Or maybe my project is doing that. I know we have some people working with the Ho-Chunk Nation. We have other people working with different international students. So we're looking at cultural boundaries there. So maybe that would be a really good one for your project to work with. And lastly, work effectively in this cross-cultural environment. So not only communicate, but actually work in it, okay? Then we have cognitive skills. Well, cognitive skills, we said, okay, the 4 ways we're going to measure this, the 4 competencies of cognitive skills are, you can read them, right? Demonstrate analysis, synthesis, evaluation, decision-making, and critical creative thinking skills. Well, I'm sure you've got lots of artifacts that demonstrate that, right? For those of you who took the 305 class, the project we did in 305 is all of that, right? That big, huge project we did, that's a great artifact to put under there. Identify, analyze, and evaluate arguments as they occur in your own and others' work. I would think that everybody's project would be able to do this, right? Because you're looking at a problem, you're rationalizing it, you're looking at the background of it, and you can see, oh, okay, this is what they've done. I understand, but I disagree, and here's why I disagree, and here's what I'm going to do. So I would think everybody should be able to do that one. Write coherent, organized, well-developed, and substantive texts that follow conventions of written English. I'm sure you have lots of those. And apply effective leadership, teamwork, relationship management, and conflict resolution skills. In your service learning project, I'm sure you did lots of teamwork. There's other classes that require team activities. Finally, the last one is integrative learning. We have 5 of these. We're going to bring our work life and our school life together. You're going to apply what you know from your work life into your school life. A lot of your projects are already doing that. You're going to develop strategies to meet a local community and business needs. Understand the role of service. Adapt to a continuously changing world. Just by the very essence of your project, you're going to be adapting, right? Because of what happens. And finally, demonstrate persistent learning through the application of research skills, critical analysis, group discussion, and all of that. So those are the 3 proficiencies and the 12 competencies of the BAAS program. So that's our little introduction. That's our first video. I'll be back with our second video.